Welcome back to the Frame Rate Podcast. If you remember from last time, I was framed. I'm no longer framed. I was got off on bail.
Oh, how much was the bail?
I don't know.
It was vehicular manslaughter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, no one was on the bicycle, so bail got dropped to like $10,000.
Who died then? Why were you framed?
I don't know.
Were you framed if you hit the bicycle?
It's not important. Welcome back to the Frame Rate Podcast. Episode, what do we call this? 3 or 3.5? I don't know. I guess technically it's 3.5, but we number it 3.
Yeah. Episode 3.
They're re-releasing that.
I know. I am so excited for it.
I'm going to go see it, and then we'll have a whole episode.
You know, buy the Darth Vader cup.
Oh, yeah. Popcorn bucket and the cup.
Yeah.
Whole thing. Whole shebang.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll get the bucket just because it'll probably be like a tin one, but I'm going to get the cup.
I just need an actual popcorn bucket.
That's fair.
I don't
We have
have
2.
one,
You want
so-
one?
No, I'm going to get a Darth Vader one.
Oh, yeah. My bad.
Were you listening?
No.
Okay. Anyway.
At least I was honest. Yes, my name is Tristan, also known as Rate.
I don't know if we have to keep that bit going.
That's going to be... I think we should.
Okay, well, I'm Trevor. I'm just Frame. I'm just Frame.
Stay tuned.
We're starting this episode a little differently because in the last week since we released our last episode, there's been
A lot.
a decent amount of big both movie and video game news that we wanted to touch on just at the beginning of this. Did you want to start talking about the first one? I know that you were really excited to talk about this.
Avengers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this was not done, in my opinion, in the best way.
Well, what happened?
Okay. Sorry. Before I critique. Marvel had was it like 6 hour long live stream on their YouTube?
I think it reached like 5.5 hours.
Yeah, tomato. Really long live stream where they had I want to say director's chairs set up, and like every hour and a half.
It started out every 10 to 15 minutes, and then by like the last 5, it was like every 20 to 30.
I didn't watch that.
I actually don't know if that's true. It's just it felt to me because I had it playing while I was working on other things, and I guess to fully explain.
Sorry, everybody.
They had the director's chairs, and every 10 to 15 minutes, you would hear music from some Marvel property, and that was to hint you at what the next chair was going to be. Because for those of you that don't know how director's chairs work, on the back of director's chairs is the name of whoever's chair it is.
Yeah, so like the first chair was Chris Hemsworth. So on the back of the chair it said Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
I actually don't have the list pulled up.
Yeah, you pull that up.
I will pull that up.
Every 10 to 15 minutes, they'd play music from a Marvel property, and then you'd hear someone off camera come in, put a chair down, and then the camera starts clearly on a track, pulls just a little bit farther down, and it reveals a new name. The purpose of this 6-hour endeavor was to announce nearly all of the cast members for the next Avengers movie, Avengers Doomsday. And
Sorry.
it was kind of long, but at the same time,
I thought it was too long. I lost interest so quick.
yeah, I don't think
It's not meant
Marvel
for-
anticipated for people to just sit there for 6 hours and watch this announcement. I think it was just like the whole thing, their whole Marvel's, what made them so good for so long was they literally cracked the code on hype. They figured out how to make people excited for things so quick and so simply, and that's what this announcement was.
Yeah, I mean, it says right here, Avengers Doomsday Stunt clocks 275 million views. Marvel live stream all-time record.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people who tuned in.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that they obviously they succeeded on getting people to watch it, but they almost certainly succeeded in getting people excited for an Avengers project again. Obviously, with the really big slump that Marvel's been in for the last few years, like it's very understandable why people would not have their hopes up for Doomsday, especially after the controversial reveal that Robert Downey Jr. would be playing Doctor Doom, even though he was Iron Man and he died.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't find an actual list. It's all things that are like include but not limited to. So I was just gonna pull up the video.
Did you want to?
Here, I'll just pull.
Here, I have. If you go on to like the Avengers,
because if you look it up online, it says that it has Chris Evans. Oh, is that on Instagram?
Yeah. Do you want me?
Sorry, everybody. Yeah, go ahead.
You want me to read them out?
Yeah.
So I think 27 is the final number that they revealed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hold on to your pants, everybody. Chris Hemsworth, Thor, obviously. Vanessa Kirby, who's playing Invisible Woman in the upcoming Fantastic Four.
Isn't her name Sue Storm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anthony Mackie, Captain America. Sebastian Stan. He's not really the Winter Soldier anymore. He's just Bucky Barnes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Letitia Wright.
Well, no, because I would assume so. Because
do I call him
in the movie
Mr. Barnes?
Well, in
Senator Barnes,
Congressman Barnes.
Oh.
No, I think he's still considered the Winter Soldier because the TV series is Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that's something. I wonder if they would touch on it because I know, like the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, completely different person, right? Like a trained assassin and all that, and
Congressman,
mind controlled. So yeah, it's just Congressman Barnes. That's what we'll call him now. until eventually we find out in Thunderbolts that he had to step down or something because he like broke a table in Congress or something.
Someone found his code book.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Letitia Wright, Black Panther, Shuri.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd, who in the actual announcement had a much smaller,
had a tiny chair, which I'm kind of sad that they didn't keep.
Yeah, in the pictures that I'm looking at now, they have a
like
regular sized one with Paul Rudd.
Yeah. Wyatt Russell,
U.S. agent.
U.S. agent, yeah.
The failed Captain America.
I'm gonna slaughter this. Tinoch Huerta Mejia.
I believe so. Yeah.
That's I guess in the movie it's Namor.
Namor.
But it's Namor.
Yeah. Ebon Mas Bachrak. I don't think it. I said that like it was Egyptian.
Bachrak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
here's the thing. Anyway, Simu Liu, Shang-Chi,
which is great.
I'm so glad that he's like. I
actually haven't seen.
Is he gonna be in Avengers Doomsday before the sequel to Shang-Chi? Because they announced that he was gonna have a sequel forever ago, and it just, I guess, never got developed. But you were saying you haven't seen Shang-Chi?
I haven't seen that one. I've heard it's really good.
It's great. I love that one. Obviously, like the third act is kind of like a CGI fest, and that like
it's kind of how Marvel is now.
It's not bad CGI, but it's like a little too much.
Yeah,
obvious, but like it's great. I won't spoil anything. Florence Pugh.
What is who is she?
Belova.
Yeah, is she technically Black Widow 2.0? Like, does she actually have like a title?
Yes and no. Like, I mean, like we kind of talked about with Brave New World. Like, there's widows. They're all widows, and like, for some reason, Natasha was like, "That's gonna be my alias, Black Widow." But
right, I just don't know. Does she have like an actual like title, or is she just Yelena?
Just Yelena.
That makes sense. And then we've got Kelsey Grammer.
First, like, big surprise announcement.
Yeah,
honestly,
because that's the original Beast from the original X-Men movies. from like the 2000s.
The early 2000s.
Yeah. And obviously he showed up in the Marvels,
Yeah, in the post-credit scene of
But-
the Marvels.
but that was like the big one that nobody expected. Because why would you? Right?
Yes. Lewis Pullman, he's playing Bob in Thunderbolts. He also plays Bob in Top Gun Maverick. He's only ever Bob.
Isn't he Sentry?
Yes, that's
Technically.
the Sentry / Void.
Yeah.
The Void is going to be the antagonist of Thunderbolts, and then I'm very intrigued as how
Does he have like multi-personality disorder?
Yes, Sentry is the good one, and Void is like
The bad guy.
extremely like super evil.
Isn't
Sentry-
he like Marvel's Superman?
Raider. Like in terms of like power scaling, Sentry is like one of the most powerful like individual people in the Marvel universe.
Okay.
Yeah, he's crazy.
I just think of like
I wonder how they're gonna
counterparts.
nerf him.
probably.
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, they nerfed what's his name? Oh man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Adam Warlock.
They like
The-
it's both- it was nerfed, but it was also like it was reasonable to me. It was like he's underdeveloped. He
Yeah,
was taken out of the cocoon
Yeah,
too early.
because
So it's
he's
like,
also
makes sense.
he's also one of the more powerful characters.
He didn't have the soul stone in his forehead. Anyway, we're getting carried away. We'll try to make these ones quick. Danny Ramirez, Falcon now. Joseph Quinn,
That's the Human Torch and Fantastic Four.
David Harbour. That's Red. Oh, what's the name of the
Red Guardian.
Red Guardian? Right.
Yep.
Winston Duke, who's M'Baku. Love M'Baku.
Oh, we didn't say
Did I skip somebody?
the Eben Moss Bachrach.
Yeah, I said he's the thing.
Oh, I didn't. I totally got.
I
Sorry,
said-
everybody.
I was like, here's the thing.
Yeah, that joke went right over my head. Which is, I just want to touch on. I love that his character is just his character from The Bear, but rocks.
At least that's what the first trailer seemed.
Okay. Okay.
Want to add a little zest.
Not because you did anything wrong, because I want to add a little bit of zest.
Hannah John Kamen. I don't know if Kamen. I don't know. But she's Ghost.
Yeah, that's Ghost.
Then the next, like really, honestly, every chair after this, except for one of them at the end, is a real big announcement.
shock.
The first one is Tom Hiddleston. Loki is returning in Avengers Doomsday.
And it makes me wonder how much of a role he's going to have.
Yeah, I don't know if he's taking on kind of like a Watcher type role.
Yeah.
'Cause he's, holding Yggdrasil, the timelines all together,
Yeah.
or like,
I think Doom kills him.
Yeah, I know that's a theory because like in comics, it's something that happens, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I don't know if they would do that this movie just because he barely got a new role.
Yeah,
It might be a
And-
little soon.
and like honestly, the trope of Loki dying
Was enough
is
to
old
wasn't well, and that was enough
for them to make a series about it.
and bring him back.
Yeah,
So it would
They
be
wouldn't-
really.
I do not think they will kill him. If they do, it's going to be another like Thor: The Dark World, like fake death.
Yeah.
But if it does happen that way, it wouldn't end that way. Like we would see a fake Loki dying, but we would see the real Loki still alive. I don't
Yeah.
think they would
It
be.
makes
they
me-
would not leave us ambiguously thinking, "Oh, Loki's
It's gonna be
dead
really. It's gonna be really interesting how they do that because we do technically see a scene in Deadpool and Wolverine of Deadpool in the TVA.
Yeah.
And he's like watching stuff on screens. So that's a side note. Obviously, I'm just
Can we take anything from Deadpool series?
well.
I know, like they stay within the continuity, but like very unserious.
It's yeah, but I mean, as we'll see later on,
Yeah.
that movie actually does play a part in this. Maybe, I guess.
Yes. Next,
Was Patrick Stewart,
Sir Patrick Stewart.
which was really interesting, especially because he was in like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That was my first thoughts. Was that it's for
Didn't
sure
his
gonna
head
be
get ripped in half? Yeah,
no, he gets his neck snapped.
but no, his head gets ripped in half.
I
Have
don't
you ever
think-
seen like the slow motion,
No.
like literally like mouth up, torn off,
Oh,
just
I did
very
not know that.
fast? Yeah, he literally his head gets shredded. I do not know how that movie was rated PG-13.
Because it was quick.
Freaking brutal.
Yeah. But that's like was like my first cue that maybe this is obviously it's going to be a multiverse thing because we have Robert Downey Jr. as Doom. But
Spoiler.
you already talked about
I
it.
know.
But that was my first thing, like, okay, this is a multiversal thing because we've already seen Patrick Stewart in our Marvel quote unquote universe.
Yeah, but
Anyways.
like obviously the whole point of that, like we have Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, but John Krasinski was Mr. Fantastic
Yeah.
in that movie. It's just all these variants.
Yeah.
All variant things. And honestly, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
It just needs to be done in a way that isn't like too much. I don't want to be just bombarded with variants. Like there's a pretty strong theory that Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom is just a variant.
This
of
is the
Doom.
Tony Stark. I've heard that it's a
No, I
Tony
don't-
Stark variant.
There is that because there is a comic line where Tony Stark does become
Doom.
Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be like that, but my personal theory for this movie, everyone write this down and keep track of this at home in case it ends up correct. But my theory is that Robert Downey's Doom at some point in some way is going to die in this movie, and then the real Doom is going to be the one to kill him in some way,
Well,
and then that real Doom will set off Secret Wars.
yeah.
Well, be involved in Secret Wars. If anyone knows anything about the Secret Wars line, Doom, everyone ends up there by accident. They
Yeah.
don't all mean to go there. They get
Yeah.
put there. We'll talk about that a different time.
Yeah. It makes me wonder. I'll talk about this when we're done, so we can get through this cast. But
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, real quick. I'm just gonna read through.
rapid fire.
Yeah. Ian McKellen,
Magneto.
OG Magneto. Alan Cumming, OG Nightcrawler. Rebecca, I'm gonna totally botch this. Ramijan.
Ramijan.
Ramij.
Ramijan. I don't know.
Ramijan. OG Mystique, James Marsden,
OG Cyclops, which is really cool. I think it's funny. Real quick, there was an interview. Have you seen the interview from Sonic the Hedgehog 3?
the donut.
No, well, the one lady's talking to him like on the red carpet, and she's like, "So when can we expect to see you in the new X-Men movie that Marvel's gonna make?" And he's like, "You don't got me. I'm not answering that. I have nothing to do with that." Anyways,
Bingo. Channing Tatum. This one I honestly was like really hyped for on behalf of Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
Because like, you know,
that's what I was saying
he's
earlier. That's why I brought up Deadpool, because when we see Channing Tatum, he comes in the Deadpool movie.
Yeah. Channing Tatum will be playing Gambit, who's another mutant. Initially, a long time ago, Channing Tatum was offered the role of Gambit, and they were going to have Gambit in the X-Men movies a long time ago, but then his character eventually got written out of him, and he didn't get the role, which made him really sad because he really wanted it. He like prepared a lot, but then come Deadpool and Wolverine, he finally got the opportunity to play
And
the character.
Did he do
and
well?
He killed it.
Yeah,
And
he
so
did
they're
really
bringing
well.
him back. I wonder if they're gonna like somehow incorporate him into the OG X-Men that way. I think they will, but I don't know.
And if who knows, these might not. They might not even be the original X-Men. They all could be just variants coming from different places,
Yeah, I don't know if they all know each other to that degree.
which would also be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
Final two for Pedro Pascal playing Mr. Fantastic.
which I told you my theory on that one. I think it would be really
You want to
interesting.
tell the viewers?
Yeah. My theory is that, and I am probably most likely wrong, but my theory is that Mr. Fantastic, or Pedro Pascal in the Fantastic Four, is the only one that doesn't have powers. And that's why he's studying the multiverse. I don't know, like, because I don't know. Obviously, I haven't thought about that as much, but I do know that in the trailer, he's the only one that's shown not using their powers.
Yeah. We'll see.
And then the last one was Robert Downey Jr., and he was actually in his chair
Yeah.
instead of empty
The
chairs.
final reveal for the final chair, you hear a version of the Avengers theme, but it's like kind of menacing. And then you see, obviously, this whole announcement they took place in one of Marvel's, studios, one of their warehouses, and you see a big, very large door open, blurry figure walking in. You're like, "What's happening? Who is this? What's going on?" And then you can see as he gets closer and he passes the camera, like, "Oh, that's RDJ." And then, as with everything else, camera pans. You see Robert Downey Jr.'s name, and he's sitting in it,
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the chair. Turns around, shushes you, probably to indicate to fans like no leaking. And then the announcement's over.
Yeah.
That's it.
Was the only theme that I heard? I mean, obviously I heard everybody else's themes, but what I heard was because I watched just because Marvel released a summed up version. It's like a minute long.
Yeah.
And it's just a quick pan over all the chairs, and then it's Robert Downey Jr. and they play like an Avengers theme, and then it switches. Because I texted you about this, it switches to the not the OG theme from the movies, but from like the cartoons of the X-Men. It has that theme, like that main theme in this score.
Yeah. Because
The very
obviously
end.
the X-Men are going to be a big part of this. Like when they revealed Patrick Stewart's name, they had the theme from X-Men, like both the 90s animated series, but it was like the revamped version for X-Men 97. And it was sweet.
Yeah. My theory, just leaving it out there, is that I think that this very well could be like, I think we might get like the first act of the movie, which I think would be really cool if it happens. We get the first act of the movie and it's in our universe, and it's our Avengers like responding to like an Avengers level threat, right? But they don't know what it is. They're just all kind of like watching the world go into catastrophe, and it's probably like some multiversal portal or something stupid like that. And then the second act of the movie would be from the X-Men point of view and in their universe. And Doctor Doom is probably there, like causing havoc in there, and opens up a portal, and then everything kind of collides with our universe at like the third and final act.
What I'm most interested
Because I think it would be really hard. Sorry, not to cut you off. I think it'd be really hard. I was telling you this, like Endgame and Infinity War, there was a lot of cast in there. Not a lot of people got a lot of parts. And it only worked because you were able to see all of these people working together. So you're like, oh, yeah, right. We know they mesh for the most part, because the people that we didn't see in the Avengers movies, we saw in the Captain America Civil War movies, right? And then you're like, okay, they do mesh a little bit. And we got a little bit of an introduction on who everybody is and how they work. Like Spider-Man, or like Paul Rudd working, like Ant-Man working with the Avengers, or Black Panther. And this one, we haven't seen any team-up movies. That's why I was talking to Trevor the day they announced this, and I was like, it's going to be really interesting. And in my eyes and in my mind, I think this is a really high-stakes movie for Marvel. Like, this is either going to be a really big win or a really big loss, right?
Yeah, I think like ceiling, honestly, the ceiling for Doomsday, just based off of the initial hype for everybody right now, is like honestly the ceiling for this movie is the highest grossing film of all time.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think we have more. Do we have more people in this than Endgame? I guess like Endgame /
it'd be
Infinity
kind of
War.
hard to determine that because there's so many from Endgame that weren't announced in this, like Hulk and Spider-Man and
Yeah.
all of these like TV characters.
But we do have a lot of other ones that weren't even superheroes then, like all the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to compare.
I would like
we
to
can't know that until the movie comes out, because
Yeah.
Marvel released a statement saying that they did not announce
Yeah,
everybody. in
there's
the
like
cast.
10 people left or something.
Yeah, I would think at least like Hulk's involved.
I think it would be really cool to I think like the reveal. I've been thinking about this ever since they brought Robert Downey Jr. out as Doom, that I think that they've got to have Spider-Man in it. Right?
Yeah.
Like I think that would be like a Mr. Stark? Who's Mr. Stark?
Not Tony Stark.
Right. Like I don't know. But
It's just like, I understand why they didn't announce Spider-Man, because like as it currently stands in the universe, no one knows Spider-Man.
yeah.
So
Well, no, they know Spider-Man. They don't know Peter Parker. No, they know Spider-Man.
Yeah, but like I don't know how it affects like teams.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't know how it affects.
He could show up though.
Because I know like a lot of nearly everybody in the Marvel universe knows Peter Parker as Spider-Man.
Not anymore.
Yeah, like but before then, like what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like I don't know how that affects relationships. Like them forgetting Peter Parker, does that make them forget Spider-Man initially?
Yeah.
I know that in like a comic, when Peter Parker does do that, makes everyone forget him. Bruce Bruce Banner forgets him, but the Hulk doesn't, because Bruce Banner was Bruce Banner when the spell took effect, but the Hulk remembers Peter. Parker. He's like the only one that does. So like I wonder if something like that would happen, but you have Professor Hulk where they're one and the same, so I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be an
getting
interesting storyline.
So far into this.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of hype behind it, and it's like we both said, like the ceiling is really high, and if Marvel fumbles the bag on this, like
It'd be really disappointing.
it could very well be probably, I don't know. I think because Marvel's established enough of a brand that if they fumble it, especially something this big, it very well could be the end of like the MCU brand as it is. Like they might lose the credibility. And that's not me saying that I hope it does that. I hope it succeeds, because as someone who grew up watching Marvel and loved Marvel, like I want nothing but for it to return to its former glory. But anyways,
one final note about this before I think we got to move on. I think the potential reasoning for it to maybe flop is because they have the Russo brothers directing again. Which, like, in terms of Marvel movies, the Russo brothers have never missed. They've directed Captain America, Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame.
Yeah.
All of those movies are, like, deserving of, like, top 5, top 10 Marvel movies in the universe. But every project that they have made outside of the Marvel universe has been absolute garbage. Like they recently, The Electric State that just came out on Netflix, they directed that. And if anyone has seen any reviews for that or even suffered to watch it, literally no substance in that movie whatsoever. It's like you can hardly even call it a movie, what I've been seeing people say. And that makes me a little worried. Like if they're on that track of doing that when they come into directing Doomsday,
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah.
But at the same time, with a movie of this magnitude, having 2 directors is a good idea.
Yeah, I would agree. Other announcements.
We'll make it real quick.
Snow White came out. It bombed. Terrible. I think it's
worst reviewed movie on IMDb of all time.
Yep. I think when I saw it, it was at like a 2.2.
1.7 now?
Yeah. I know it's gotten worse. So anybody who has to go watch that, I'm sorry. I probably won't.
Your kids might like it though, because they're children
and they've never seen the original Snow White. But so that's another news. In other news,
in local news,
for anybody who cares about video games, Nintendo has their live events that are called Nintendo Directs, where they do all their announcements. They didn't really announce a whole lot because they announced everything for the original Switch and the Switch 2, which just was announced. All of those announcements come Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
But the things they did release, well, I guess you probably know more about it, the digital game cards. And then they announced that they're going to they announced an app called Nintendo Today, and that's basically just a news app for everything Nintendo
updates.
And it's only been out for a day, and literally this morning they announced a Legend of Zelda live action movie, which has kind of been in the talks for a little bit.
They announced that was happening a long time ago,
but we never heard
the release date.
Yeah, they announced the release date.
Like the first details we have on it.
I think it was 27, right?
Yeah, May.
Yeah,
of 2027.
Yeah, which real quick, real brief. I don't know how I feel about that.
I wish it was animated.
I think a lot of people do.
But like if you,
And
like,
I've also heard a lot of people who say that if Link speaks a single word, that'll immediately ruin the movie for him, which I would probably agree with.
yeah, I mean, like, I know that Link talks. You just don't hear him talk.
Yeah.
In lots of the games, you have like dialogue options, and clearly you are like Link is saying things.
Yeah.
You just don't hear him.
And you actually don't even see him speak until I think recently in, is it probably Breath of the Wild? Did they show him speak in Skyward Sword? Like he does he doesn't really speak. He like moves his body like he's
Yeah, there's never like an actual
voice
word spoken.
But I'm meaning like we don't see him like actually animate in a way that he's speaking until like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's some games that actually point and like make fun of the fact, like Nintendo realizes that Link's a mute, and they go, "Why are you just standing there? Aren't you gonna say something?" And he just cuts the Link, and he's like,
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was another news. Those were announced. Obviously, we'll get more details and we'll share a little more once we know more. But they announced a bunch of games, none of which I'm really excited for.
They're none of ones that like appeal to my specific tastes. I know that like Tomodachi Life has a really big community and a lot of people. Like,
Same with Metroid.
yeah, like Metroid Prime, like they had announced that they were making a fourth one, like
Eons
15
ago.
years ago.
Yeah.
And they like occasionally in a direct would say like, we're still working on this.
It hasn't been canceled.
And like they had like an actual like reveal that Metroid Prime 4 was coming out. And then
this last one, they
the
showed like
direct,
gameplay.
Well, from what I remember from that initial announcement, I kind of understand why it like delayed so bad, because it looks like they literally revamped all of their ideas. Everything is different.
Yeah.
As opposed to what I can remember.
I've
never played a Metroid
I was getting
Prime
a little
game,
bit
but
of.
I know that they're big games
Yeah.
for some people.
I was getting a little bit of Halo.
Yeah, they're kind of
Anyways.
in that, like around that.
Anyways, so that's kind of, those are the announcements. And that's kind of like my part in this entire podcast.
Still gonna be.
I'm walking out the door, everyone. See ya.
Welcome to Trevor solo episode. While Tristan's gone.
Oh, I'm back.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm still here. Save me. Yeah, I mentioned this at the end of last episode. But this last Monday, I went and saw the documentary style concert film Hans Zimmer and Friends, Diamonds in the Desert. Because as has been like hinted at and dropped a few times as we've done these recordings, I'm a very big
He has a
connoisseur
poster of Hans Zimmer in his room.
I do not.
It's a shrine.
I don't have that.
Every night he goes up to it and he
Yep,
kisses his hand.
right on the forehead.
Puts it on the lips of Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer can have my babies. I'm a very big connoisseur of film scores, of like scores of any kind. I listen to video game music too, but Hans Zimmer has been a like personal favorite of mine for a very long time. And so when he had announced that he was doing this concert movie, immediately I was like, I am going to go see this. And then I kind of had forgotten about it until just last week when I had seen another post about it that, gosh, sorry.
He's just getting choked up.
I know, I'm a little emotional. that the screenings began last Friday. And so I bought tickets and I went with my dad on Monday because he's the one who got me into soundtracks. I was like, I should go with
repay
him.
the favor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Really?
I loved that. I felt like I robbed Hans Zimmer because I didn't pay as much I felt like I should have to go see that. Like the way that it was formatted, like I said, it's a documentary style concert film. He taped his his concert in Dubai that he did last year, which the like the show that he put on it was perfect for Dubai. Like the Coca-Cola arena that they have there, I guess, like all of the Dubai is a very like high tech kind of place, and this arena it was very high tech, and like the lighting stuff that he did for his show was so cool. What he did, I mean, I want to kind of keep this kind of concise. I don't want to make this like we did with Brave New World, where I'm just saying everything that happened. But like some of the I guess my favorite things that happened, like it would cut between him doing like pieces from a specific movie or movies if part of a franchise, and it would cut to someone that he had interviewed one-on-one that they to some degree had a big impact on his career and the direction that it took. And like one of the people that he interviewed, which these interviews I actually really liked the creative choices that Hans Zimmer took for these interviews, because they're sitting in what I can only imagine to be his place in London, because I know that he lives there. That's where his studio is. But the aspect ratio goes real small, like 4:3, and it's all black and white, which obviously I don't know all the reasons, but I'd imagine it's because like to eliminate distractions. When someone who's as much of a genius as Hans Zimmer is, he knows what to do to grab your attention.
Yeah.
So he has it all black and white, so you're focusing simply on what is being said. You're not paying attention to the fact that it's probably raining in London, that like how all the colors of the set that he set up in his place. You're just paying attention to the conversation. And it was like, it wasn't so much like people talking about Hans Zimmer's life and his works. A lot of that came into it because like when you're having a one-on-one interview with Hans Zimmer, everybody that was there, even people who arguably have bigger names than Hans Zimmer does, are just gushing over his works and how much it's impacted them.
Right.
And like he took it like really humbly. Like clearly he's a man. He's a guy. Just like you and me. And then he would very beautifully merge the beginning of a new part of the concert with the end of his interviews. And I wrote down what like my favorite pieces that he wrote, and I'm gonna just go through these pretty quickly and maybe touch on a few of them. But these aren't in order of the way they were in the film. But first one was he did go over Pirates of the Caribbean, which that one was a given. I guessed
that's probably
he was going to do that.
I don't want to say that that's what put him on the map, because he was obviously doing stuff long before that, but it definitely helped.
Yeah, it really did boost him. He had an interview with Jerry Bruckheimer on in the film, and he talked about how much fun.
And if you
Pirates was, and like Jerry Bruckheimer, like he doesn't name drop him, but he talks about how the first composer they had, it didn't work out and it fell through. That guy was Klaus Badelt, the guy who did the music for the first one, who, to my understanding, this might not be true, but what I heard was Klaus Badelt, the guy who's credited with the music for Curse of the Black Pearl, was an apprentice of Hans Zimmer, and like Disney had originally reached out to Hans Zimmer to do the music for Pirates of the Caribbean, but he was contractually obligated to a different movie at the time, and so he couldn't do it. So he just wrote the music for it and had his apprentice conduct and lead the orchestra. And so Klaus Badelt is credited, but Hans Zimmer wrote them. That's what I understand, which like I believe it simply because the music stays same style.
I say it's very universal throughout the entire films.
And like when they're playing Pirates, it's so fun because like as like different from how it goes in the movies. You have like distinct pieces that like they do work with one another. You transition into them, but like with concerts, they're like
They're different.
they're written differently so that
Yeah.
they work perfectly into one. Like they had like the cellist, the electric cellist. She had an electric cello. I guess before I talk about her, just like quickly say that everybody that Hans Zimmer has assembled as in his band are so dang talented. It's so fun to listen to them, and I know that a lot of them, if not all of them, are people that he has in his orchestras when he's actually composing
Mhm.
scores. I know a few of them definitely were. But like you had the Jack Sparrow theme from the cellist leading into One Day from At World's End, the romantic theme, and then into Up is Down when they're flipping
Oh yeah.
the ship upside down, and then ending with He's a Pirate on that one. Another one of my big favorites was when he played music from The Lion King. He brought out the guy who, and goodness, I'm fumbling over my words. Just so passionate about this. The the singer who does the at the beginning of the movie, he came back, and that's how he opened that part of the concert. It was all dark, and then as soon as you hear him say it, then like the screen behind him lights up, all the lighting comes in like it's the sunrise,
Mm.
and everyone starts cheering because they know what this is and they're so excited. But then there was a new song, not like a new orchestral song, but an actual sung one by this guy, all about like he lives in me, he lives in you, reference to the Lion King, obviously. And it was really awesome. It was really great. And like the Lion King is one of my favorite scores by Hans Zimmer, especially like when his interview leading into it, you would not be able to guess who it was, but I'll just tell you anyway. It was Zendaya.
Hmm.
Zendaya's interview was actually one of my favorites, if not my actual favorite, because she was like clearly like she was having the time of her life, just sitting there talking to Hans Zimmer, and she's talking about how like the Interstellar soundtrack changed her life, and like after like she like went on a road trip with her family, and she's driving, and she's just blasting the music from Interstellar while she's driving, and like
Which
that like felt like extremely relatable. Like I do that
yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Like, way to go, Zendaya. You are also just a normal person.
You're like us. Yeah.
And then Hans Zimmer, he talks about how he initially did not want to do The Lion King. He did not want to do the score for it. But he had a daughter who was 6 years old at the time, and he had always wanted to take her to a movie premiere, but like every score that he had done was for movies that he definitely could not take a 6-year-old to see.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I'll do the cartoon just so I can take my daughter to the premiere. And then he comes to find out that like has very serious tones. And he talked about how he lost his father when he was 6, and reading the script and writing the score for The Lion King is all about someone who loses their father when they're really young.
Mhm.
And he says that the entire score for The Lion King is just a requiem for his dad.
Hmm.
And that like boosted my love of The Lion King so
Yeah.
much more. Like everything about it is just him. Like he never really got to know his dad. He was
Yeah.
6 when he died.
Yeah.
So that's like it's really beautiful.
Well, and it gives a lot of the hero's journey. Like, you can hear that in the songs, like coming to terms and stepping into like what
Being
you're
lost.
yeah, and then stepping into what you're like what you're supposed to become.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So good. With the Dark Knight music, what he did with some of these pieces is when he would transition from the interview into it, rather than just jumping straight back to the arena and then playing it, it starts out with like based off of the movie. And so like when it jumped from the interview to the Dark Knight stuff, it transitions like fades into like a helicopter or drone pan through Dubai at night, very much like how the Dark Knight is with Gotham panning to Batman standing on the edge of a building, and like you hear the light like cello playing like you do in the movie and you're like, this is pretty cool. And then it pans into a window where you see Hans with like his giant electric soundboard that he uses. And then you have everyone, not everyone, but a lot of the key players in his orchestra starting to play music from The Dark Knight in like what looks like an abandoned office, similar to how like the ending of The Dark Knight is with the Joker and Batman in an abandoned building.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is really cool. It's like really immersive. Like, you actually are helping convey to me visually what piece you're playing. Obviously, everyone that's watching this movie probably already knows what the soundtrack to The Dark Knight sounds like. And then, like, partway through that, like, immersive on-set scene, it jumps to the arena, the actual concert. When he did Interstellar, obviously this is the one that everyone...
This. I don't want to say this put him on the map because he was on the map.
Yeah.
But this, like...
It's
This is probably one of his most popular...
Like, arguably, it's his magnum opus.
Yeah.
It's his best. And like, leading into Interstellar, he had an interview with Sir Christopher Nolan. I love Christopher Nolan. And their conversation, they've worked together for a very long time. It's like, the way they talked, it's like, these guys are just buddies. They're just reminiscent on the past. And Christopher Nolan talked about how different from his previous ways of reaching out to Hans to do music for his movies. He rather than telling him like what was happening or giving him a script, he just told him that he wanted he wanted something about like a father and his children. He wanted Hans to work from the inside out rather than from the outside in, which was different from every other film he did. And it's literally the simplest of all of Hans Zimmer's scores.
Mm-hmm.
He uses like maybe 4 or 5 instruments total.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then it transitions from that into a different venue. I really could not tell you what this venue is supposed to be for, but it's clearly still in Dubai. Somewhere else. It's just them and the orchestra, and like they have like beautiful, gorgeous projections on this giant domed ceiling. Obviously, they're not showing clips from the movie or clips from the parts of the movie when these scores are playing. It's just supposed to be similar. So it's like space, but it's a bit different. They have a lot more colors and animations going through it. It's just like you can tell, like, yeah, this is supposed to be like space. But like the only thing I really want to touch on with Interstellar, because if you want me to talk about Interstellar's soundtrack, you're gonna need me to start a different podcast by myself. But everyone just go listen to it. They have one of the violinists is also a vocalist, and she hits some of the highest notes I think I've ever heard come out of a human being. Like I've heard Mariah Carey go like
high,
super high, but this lady, and it was like the clearest tone I'd ever heard, with the highest tone I had ever heard, worked perfect, and I was like literally so impressed. I was literally had to sit up straighter in my chair because I was blown away by this one woman's performance. They didn't have an actual church organ for the Interstellar stuff. It was a synth organ, but it still sounded so good. Inception, he only had 2 actual pieces from Inception, and they were separated. They weren't all together. The second piece he played in the whole film was from Inception. It was Mombasa. It's the one that's full of drums. It's when in the movie when Cobb is running away from these mercenaries who are trying to get him because he's technically a criminal person. Very exciting, very cool. Love it. And then the way that he ended the film was with Time, one that everyone knows from Inception, where it's just like 3 notes on a piano over and over again, and then you hear the cello playing behind it, and it's so beautiful. That's how he ended it, which I guessed that is the one he was going to use to end it.
Yeah.
And the last part of like what my favorite parts, obviously everything in it was great, but my favorite parts was you got into the Gladiator soundtrack. This one was one of his longer ones. He had several pieces from this. This was another one where he cut to a different set. It like obviously they're always in Dubai. They're at a different part, and like there's like some kind of set built around it to make it look like an ancient Roman
Yeah.
like suburb almost. And nearly everybody in the orchestra, including Hans, is in costume of some kind. It's just like a robe that is fitting.
Yeah.
And then
Toga.
yeah. The main lady who sings the part in Now We Are Free.
Mm-hmm.
She was there and she did wonderfully. And the camera's panning around the orchestra the whole time. It's very neat. And like I haven't even seen the first Gladiator, and nothing motivated me to actually finally sit down and watch it like that part of the Hans Zimmer.
First Gladiator movie is, I would say the first Gladiator movie, between like the score and just the movie itself. And I guess like the memory of watching it with my dad, it's probably in my top 10 movies of all time. I love it.
Yeah, I'm actually.
I was really sad when
sit
I
down
showed
and
it to
watch that.
Grace and she didn't like it. We didn't make it through it because it's one of my favorite movies ever.
I bet I'll like it.
It's really good. I mean, if Grace doesn't like it, most likely you're going to like it.
That's how we rate movies here.
The Grace scale.
If Tristan's wife didn't like it, probably a pretty good movie. I'll go through these last bits pretty quick because I know that we're kind of going over here. But there were some pieces that were a surprise to me that he included. The theme from X-Men Dark Phoenix. I forgot that he did the music for that movie because I try to forget about that movie.
Yeah.
The final X-Men movie that came out in 2020, 2019.
I think it was 2019.
can't
I remember
remember,
seeing
but
posters for it when I was on my mission.
absolutely awful.
Terrible movie.
But
Awful movie.
the theme for it, pretty good.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer
Anything,
can't miss.
I would say anything
then,
that guy touches.
He did play a piece from Dunkirk, which was kind of shocking to me because a lot of Dunkirk's music is just supposed to be kind of anxiety inducing to build up tension. It's still like really good, but I didn't think that it was something that would work its way into this concert, but still it worked.
And that's also a really good movie.
I love that.
It's really good.
And then the whole time I was watching, I was wondering if there were certain scores that would find their way in, but these were the ones I was sad that didn't. The first one being The Last Samurai. I love that movie. And
Is that the one with Tom Cruise?
Yeah. And I love the score for it. It's great. It's great. Take a listen to it and even watch the movie.
I've wanted to watch the movie. I think I may have watched the movie with my dad at some point. I don't remember. I'll have to watch it.
The Kung Fu Panda soundtrack. I had a feeling this one probably wouldn't be included, but Oogway Ascends is such like a popular and famous one.
Would you say that that's probably his most popular?
No.
No?
I think Time from Inception. If we're going off of like YouTube views alone, it's Time. There might be like Cornfield Chase might have caught up to that, but I don't know. Amazing Spider-Man 2. I was actually really hoping that the music from that movie would find its way in there. Really hoping, because I think it's great. Spider-Man's actual theme that plays like at the very beginning, awesome. I didn't think they were gonna do like dubstep with Electro's theme with like My Enemy or whatever. Prince of Egypt. You want to talk about what put him on the map? I love the Prince of Egypt score. It's like really high up in my lists of favorite scores of all time. And that one was kind of shocking to me that it didn't go in there. Because that movie is like has cultural ramifications. So many people look to Prince of Egypt and are inspired. I thought that might be in there, But thinking about it now, he was performing in Dubai. I don't know what their relationship with
Yeah,
the Egyptians are, or anything,
I
or
could
like
see that.
with like Christianity. I don't know, or Judaism. Anyone who believes in Moses, I don't know what their relationship. And the final one I was kind of hoping would be in there was No Time to Die. I kind of forgot that he did the score for that one because he didn't do it for any of the other James Bonds. But it's awesome. I was like, I don't think he'd be able. I don't think he'd have the rights to play like the theme from James Bond unless there's like a specific way that he did it for No Time to Die that he'd be able to include in there. But that's pretty much all of my thoughts. I know that the screenings don't last for super long, so if
Where'd you go and watch it at?
it was at a Cinemark, they're all at Cinemarks.
Okay. Because I mean, I've talked
least in
about
our
how I
area.
want to see this. Like, I know a lot about video game scores. I know a lot about video game scores because that's been kind of my area. Versus, I mean, Trevor dives into that, but Trevor is for sure far more knowledgeable in like the film scores than I am. But I obviously, who hasn't heard of Hans Zimmer, right? You'd have to live under a rock. So it would make sense, like why it's so popular, and it's for sure something that I would like to go and see.
You want a bit of a video game score Hans Zimmer trivia here? I know you already know that he did the soundtrack for Modern Warfare 2.
Yep.
But you know what else he did? Skylanders.
Really?
The first one. Just Spyro's Adventure. But he did the music for that.
I did not know
Lauren
that.
Balfe, who does the music for Mission Impossible and Top Gun Maverick. Who Hans Zimmer also co-wrote the main title theme from Top Gun.
Yeah, I would say because it's on his. I'm looking.
Yeah.
I was looking to see. Cornfield Chase is his most played song on Spotify.
I think it is also on Apple.
Actually.
Yeah, it is.
No, Time is.
Yeah,
Time is by
Apple
2 million.
Music, Cornfield Chase is his number one.
I think that how it goes on Spotify is it's whatever's trending at the moment is what's the most popular.
Typically.
But
yeah,
Time has it beat by 2 million. They're both at 396 million, which is, and Time is 398.
Big number.
Kung Fu Panda's Oogway Ascends, not even on the top 5.
Wow. Yeah.
But
it's not in. It's
on one of the ones
on
one of the ones that I saw on YouTube when I was looking at it. His like from him only has like 8.2 million, but from another like music company that does it has it on there. That's got like 24.2 million. So it's up there.
Yeah.
If not shown.
My last thought about this is I really hope that it gets nominated for Best Documentary Feature at next year's Oscars. Because, like, obviously, if it doesn't win, that's fine.
It won't win after they snubbed him this year.
Well, it's, you know, I guess if they're using the same logic, it's all music he's done before. But it really was really great. It really helped humanize Hans Zimmer. Oh my gosh, I forgot to write this down. But one of my favorite things is after the movie is over, before the credits start rolling, you know, he credits all of the members of his band, and the way he does it, I think, is really neat. It's back to black and white, but rather than being like 4:3, it's still the full screen, and it has a top down camera of the hands of the people that are in the band. Like they're doing like whatever they want with their hands. There's someone who's doing like the Spider-Man, like the hands, and like some people are like playing with their fingers or whatever. But like he's showcasing the hands that made it possible, that made the music. And I thought that was really neat.
That is really cool.
Like really unique, a really cool way to do it. But like I was surprisingly impacted by it. I didn't think I would have liked that so much.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah. But like
I mean,
I hope this is like available to buy on like Prime Video or something, cuz like I think I might be the most productive person alive if I can have this playing while I'm editing or working on anything.
Anything. Yeah. No, and I would love to see like a Hans Zimmer in concert, like where he does this. And I heard that this year or in the coming years, he finally has announced U.S. shows.
He had his first U.S. showings this last year.
Yeah. So that makes me happy because it makes me
Yeah.
feel like we might get a chance. Which, if there's any of them that are close, we're going.
Well, yeah, the closest ones that he had last year were one in Denver and one in Vegas. But I'd want to go to the one in Vegas because knowing how his show is, I would think Allegiant Stadium would be the most equipped.
Yeah.
For the best experience.
Yeah.
So if he announces them again, I know where I'm going.
Yep. But anyways,
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
I love Hans Zimmer. He's really good.
I reiterate once again, Hans Zimmer can have my babies. Platonically.
Oh.
Yeah, is there anything else you
No.
wanted to say?
No. Just there's a lot of stuff coming up in the next couple weeks.
Mhm.
So
I think we're going to talk about the Minecraft movie.
yeah, the
sometime
Minecraft
soon.
movie. Minecraft movie comes out next week,
Yeah.
April 6th, 4th.
4th, right?
It's April 4th. Yep. That one.
That'll be a doozy.
Vintage steel.
The Nether to talk about. You know what? You know what's happening next week?
Enderpearl.
Water bucket release.
Wow. But we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Obviously we love doing this, and it makes us happy that other people like to listen to us ramble on for an hour about random things when it comes to the cinema universe.
So stay tuned for what's to come. Hopefully we end up talking about what you want us to talk about. But, you know,
Signing
all
off.
the platforms we record on have comment sections, so
Let
maybe
us know.
we'll read them. But this has been the Frame Rate Podcast. We will catch you all next week.
On the flippity flip.
Bow!
Vintage steel.